Hello, y'all. Welcome to Open Source Friday. Open Source Friday is essentially a show that I run every Friday on Twitch and now YouTube and LinkedIn, where I chat with open source maintainers about their projects. It's helpful for me because now I get to learn about new projects and learn about new technologies, and then also hopefully the audience can as well. And then I hope that it will also be helpful for the maintainers themselves so they can get some more exposure. Okay, so this is part 2 of the stream. Today in particular, I did like a 2-part stream where I had one person on, and now we have a second person on named Donald. I want to give a quick disclaimer. For the last stream, a lot of people asked like, why is it called Awesome Black Maintainers? What happened to the white maintainers? Well, I bring on a lot of white maintainers, y'all. Like, I do not neglect them. They're like the majority of open source. So each Friday I have brought on maintainers, and they just so happen to be white. But because we're in America and right now it's Black History Month, I thought, why not like highlight some Black maintainers? Like, let's see what they're doing, right? Like, I wanted to just be able to especially dedicate this time to them. So without further ado, instead of me talking so much, I want to go ahead and introduce Donald, or have Donald introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Donald. I'm a self-taught software developer. I'm currently working on a project called FormidableJS, as well as LunaQL. Yeah, I work for a company called Realm Digital. I basically do R&D work. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll say hi to some people in the chat. Jose said hello. Um, there's just a whole bunch of highs. Hey, C Bid too. Thanks for joining on both of them. And someone asked, what's the name of the music playing when streaming? Was it called Waiting? I have no clue. I'll be honest with y'all. I took that music and the slide from Canva, so I don't know. But if you know it, that's cool. All right. So tell us. You said you maintain FormidableJS. What is that?
Yeah, so FormidableJS is I call it the one-person framework. It's a full-stack framework that allows you to build applications. So you can build front-end stuff, you can build back-end, and you can do all of that by yourself. So yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And then okay, I'm gonna kind of switch you might be seeing like the questions that I outlined for you. I'm gonna switch it real quick. So why did you call it a one-person framework? I think I have an idea, but
Yeah. Yeah, so I call it the one-person framework because it allows you to do everything by yourself, or at least it tries. So if you are building an app, you can build the backend by yourself, you can build the front end by yourself, and you don't have to worry about how do you get started with building the front end, how do you get started with building the back end. You can do everything in one code base. So that's why it's called the one-person framework.
that makes sense. All right,
Yeah.
and then also on you have a Twitter account for Formidable JS, and that
Yeah.
you described it as like, I don't even know if I'm saying this word right. IMBA, like
Yeah.
IMBA. I'll type it out for people. What does that even mean?
All right, so Ember is a full stack programming language that was created by the folks at Scrimba. So yeah,
Oh.
so that's where the name comes from. So they basically use it to build Scrimba, and that's basically how the project came about.
Oh, okay, all right. And Scrimba is that tool that people use. Am I wrong? Um, is that the tool that people use to do like coding tutorials, or is that a different tool?
It's that tool. It's the same tool.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool. That's really cool. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah.
somebody just said Scrimba is awesome. I think it's so cool that like they've combined doing a tutorial, like watching a tutorial video, but then you can also like edit the visual editor that they're showing you
Yeah,
in the video. Like it's
yeah,
awesome.
it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did sorry, now I'm like curious, like how did you find out about the fact that they use Imba to build Scrimba? Like
Um, Yeah, so I kind of been following the project for like 2 years now.
okay.
I actually discovered Ember because I wanted to build a game engine, and I was like, let me find a language that doesn't have a game engine, and then I found Ember, and then I
Oh,
started doing some research on it, and I found out that it was created by the same guys who created Scrimba. So that's how I kind of found them out.
cool, cool. I'm definitely gonna, if you don't mind, send them this video. I think they'll be happy. I, I
Yeah, go
recently
ahead.
connected with them. So great. Okay, cool. So what inspired you to create Formidable JS?
Yeah, I think so. After finding Ember, I decided that I wanted to learn the language. But one of the bad things that I usually do when I find a new tool, I try and create a different tool using that specific tool. So I was like, let me create a framework, and I basically built FormidableJS, and that's how I learned Ember, and that's why I created FormidableJS, just to learn Ember. And then over the years, I decided to start using FormidableJS for other personal projects. So right now, FormidableJS is aiding the development of LunaQL. You might have seen it in my bio on Twitter. So that's what now the project does. It's basically the development framework for LunaQL.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's so awesome that you built a framework to help you build like something else.
yeah,
All right, let's see if you're ready. I want to see this demo.
yeah.
Um, yeah, because I would love to see how it works.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just open this. Cool. So I've got my code editor. I've set up a example project just to get started.
Okay.
So basically, I'll just show you the file structure. So those who are coming from a Laravel background, they'll see this. It's very similar to Laravel. So you have the app folder, which is where your main code sits. You
Mhm.
have Bootstrap, which is basically the bootstrapping of the application. You have the config. So here you can configure your application, whether you want to do course, you want to do database. So here you'll see there's a bunch of connections, SQLite, MySQL, Postgres, and MS SQL. How do you want to handle hashing? Do you want to use Bcrypt or what's the other option? Agon 2. There's also logging. How do you want to log the whatever? So let's say you're testing, I see the data. You want to log it to
Mm,
Slack, Discord, or in a file.
that's cool.
There's also there's also the mailing stuff. So you can we currently have two mailers, SMT and SendMail. And then there's sessions. So here you can also configure your sessions. So all of this comes pre-configured for you, which is really great. And then in the public, you can host your files, your static files. Resources, this would be where your front end sits. Routes, this is where you can define routes, whether API routes or web routes. And then storage, you can store files here as well. Test, you can write some tests. And then that's pretty much it. So let's start the application.
Okay.
Cool. I'll just do node Crossman. Okay, cool. We also have this cool thing called Crossman. It's basically the CLI tool for the framework. It allows you to basically scaffold a bunch of things. Yeah, let's check it out.
Okay.
Serve dev, so run the application development mode.
And not
And let's
to
see.
interrupt your thought process, but I just wanted to highlight a comment for you that someone said, "Okay, this is what I like to see. This is amazing." Just to boost your confidence. But keep going.
Thanks to that. Yeah, cool. So now that we started the application, you'll see here it says successfully generated types. So how's that? What's that? So in the framework, you can create requests, and in the request, you can specify the rules. So let's say you have a post request, and the post request is basically storing a user. Maybe you want to have a username or an email address, and you want to specify the actual rules. So you can say the username must be unique, and you can say the email address must be an actual email address. And then you can have another field called password, and you can say the minimum characters of the password should be 8. You know? So what that will do is with the successfully generated types, it will actually generate a type for that request. So we can actually check it out. So here we go. So this type here, it's coming from a request called store user request, and it has a name and an email. So we can check that out. Store user request, and this is the request. So here you'll see there's rules, and this is basically taking all of this and it's putting it this side. So this will allow you to sort of have type checking within your code, which is really great. Cool. So let's
Oh.
go to the application that got started. Bring this tab here. So this is an example project that I built. It's basically a basic form. So you can create a new user. So let's create a new user. Donald, and then Donald. Oh, and then click add. It adds the user. So let's look at the code. So if we go to, I think it's users index. Cool. So now, if we look at the code, let's actually look at the piece of code that actually added the user.
Yeah.
This is it. So this is Ember. So here we're basically saying user.on, and then we passing the name of the route. So this is the name of the route. And then we're like, cool. So when this runs, it'll actually add the user. It'll send a request to the backend. Let me open up the API route. Just check what route that is. So this is the route that gets called.
Okay.
But notice we are calling, or we are using the name.
Mm-hmm.
So here user.on. And the idea behind that is if you at any point you decide to change the name or you change your route, you don't have to worry about now you have to go back to your front end and like figure out like change the route there as well. You can just use the name of the route, which is efficient.
Oh, and is
Yeah.
this I got a dumb question. This is being saved in a database?
Yeah.
Is the database part of, and you might have already said this, so my bad. The database is also part of the FormidableJS framework.
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
shoot, that's crazy.
For this specific demo, I used SQLite
Okay.
because I didn't want to set up
A
MySQL.
whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, so then we can actually go and look at the code. The function that gets executed is this one here.
Oh,
So we have some dependency injection, the store user request. So basically, what that means is when this create function hits the backend will execute this, and then it'll inject this request to the function. And then because it's injecting the request to the function, we now have access to methods and properties that are inside that request. So, which is great. And then it just calls this persist function, and you can check it out. And basically here, what we're doing is we're just checking if a user with the same email address exists. If that user exists, then we just throw an error, a
yeah.
validation error. Uh, Email is already taken. If the user doesn't exist, we create the user and then we return it to the front end. And that's pretty much it. So let's actually try and add a user with the same email address.
Yeah.
So Donald, Donald at gmail.com. Boom, email address is already taken. So it's going to re-render the errors for you. And so let's check that out. So this is, yeah, this is the part where it renders the errors.
Oh.
So we're like, cool, if there's an error, if there's an email error, run through all the errors and then print them out in the front end. And that's basically it.
Okay, and I'm
Um,
seeing, sorry to always interrupt you. I saw a
it's,
part where you wrote like BC red and stuff like that. Is that how you're styling the
yeah,
errors? Okay,
yeah.
interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So the other cool thing is because this is a full stack application, it
Mhm.
means it's API ready. So because I have routes in my API file, I can actually call them. Let's say, we had a different client and they were trying to integrate with the platform. We could give them the endpoints and they could actually integrate with the platform. So I mean, let's try to access some of these routes. Onto API users one. So this returns the first user. We could do, I mean, there's a new user. We added a new user. It was user four. This is the user that we just added. And
Yeah,
then if we hit a user that doesn't exist, five, it'll throw a 4 error. So it's API ready as well, which is really great. And that's pretty much it. There's a ton of things you can do as well. So we can take a look at the CLI tool, so Node Crossman.
okay.
So here, I'll just run you through some of the commands. So we have a bunch of these make commands, which basically allow you to, so you can make a command, you can make a config, controller, CRUD, exception, middleware, mail, migration, repository, request. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. You can run migrations. You can check out your route list. So that's my favorite actually. So do node crossman routes list, and it's basically going to print all the routes that are registered. Um, yeah, which is pretty cool. And because it's
Yeah,
authentic, it's auth ready. You basically it comes with these routes which you can use to set up authentication, which is great. So you don't have to write auth from scratch as well. So that's another cool thing. Yeah, what else is there? Let's see.
that's crazy. And wait, can you remind me, did you make the Craftsman CLI command part,
Yeah,
or is that
yeah, yeah.
wow?
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's all part of the framework. So Crossman is basically
wow.
is also part of the framework. There's actually a repository on the FormidableJS org on GitHub. So yeah, you
Yeah.
can check all of that out if anyone is interested. Yeah, you can. I think you can also put the application in maintenance mode. So if you don't want people to, let's say you're doing deployments and you don't want people to access your application, you can put it in maintenance mode. If you want to be able to access the application, you can have it so that it's accessible to your machine only. Yeah, you can do a whole lot of things. Yeah,
Wow. You really, this project needs more attention. You put a lot into this. Like, I
yeah,
think yeah, I'm just like I don't even know which part I'm impressed at. Like you built a whole framework and then it comes with CLI commands. It comes with I think you said authentication built in, which is always a pain in the butt for people. And
yeah,
then you can put it into maintainer mode. You can use it for migrations. This is cool. People, if you I would y'all go star the repo right now. I can't type links in the chat, but definitely check out the repository. I linked the GitHub org here. It says github.com/formidablejs. Yeah, I'll let you keep going if you have more to show. I don't want to
yeah,
interrupt.
yeah, yeah. There is something else called where is it? So we also have a scheduler. So let's say you want to run basically like a cron. You want to run certain tasks at specific times. You can set up your scheduler here. So we can basically do schedule call function in there, and we can basically run a bunch of code, and we can specify how often it should run. So we can do every 3 days, so it could run every 3 days. We could do every 3 hours, for example, or every 3 minutes, or we could just do every minute, and it'll run every minute. And then there's also a new feature that I recently worked on. So we had
Ooh,
a new user that wanted to use FormidableJS for this project called Praza, and they wanted to be able to queue their processes. So we added a queue worker that you can now check out. Formidable queue. It still needs to be documented, but this basically allows them to now create queues for their project and processes.
Wow.
And this is built on top of BQ. It uses Redis under the hood. So yeah, it's a lot of cool things happening under the hood.
This is great. I love it. Y'all start this project. Why haven't I heard of this more? Like you put so much effort into it. And I also like even like the small stuff with the scheduler, right? I expected you to like for the scheduler write in like, the cron job stuff where it's like 00 space star da da da. But no, you you built
Yeah, it's like
where you write every minute or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. The whole point of the framework is to make it easy for people to build full stack applications. You shouldn't have to worry about like things like cron. You should just
Yeah.
be able to write code and everything just works.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's pretty beefed up. There's a lot of things you can do. You can set up your own commands, so you can actually add on to Crossman. So you can, if you wanted to add more commands to Crossman, you can actually create more commands and you can add them to your application. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do, and yeah, it's not hard at all to get started. You can use Ember on the back end as well. So I showed you Ember for the front end, but you can also use it on the back end. In fact, we use our views. Our views are actually in Ember. So if I go to resources and I open up views, so this is an Ember view, and it's actually in Ember, right? So this is what we use for rendering views.
Yeah.
And then we also use Ember for our emails. So, I don't have emails. Don't I have emails? Okay, I don't have emails. Yeah, you can also use it. Let's actually create an email.
Let's do
Node Crossman make mail alerts user, for example. And this will create a new email and we can open it so that we can start styling our emails, right? So we can
Oh.
active, we can add some BG, red, this is red. So like this would then be the template that gets sent to the user via email.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of things you can do. Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna see how else we could promote your project beyond Open Source Friday because I think this is great. Like underrated, well, by a lot. There's also people in the channel still saying like they love it, right? They said sheesh, getting JavaScript meets Rails vibes. Um, This project is dope. People are starring it, which is great. And then somebody said they never heard of Imba. I think you might have come in late, but I learned that it's the language in which Scrimba, well, Donald taught me this, in which Scrimba is built on. And if you're not familiar with Scrimba, it's like a place for people to learn how to code. So they have like coding tutorials, like video tutorials, but you can also like pause the video and like edit the editor that they show
Yeah.
you within the video. So
Yeah.
yeah, he built it on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone wants to get involved, the source code is on GitHub.
Okay.
You can start playing around with it.
Yeah. Wait, let's see if you don't mind, let's see the repository. I know you showed it to us for a second. But
Yeah.
yeah. So what
So
should
there's a
yeah, go ahead.
so there's a bunch of repos here, and they're all sort of connected. So let's see. There's the TypeScript repo. There's the Ember repo. So maybe let's check out. We can check out the console. So here we have a bunch of. So this is the console repo. This is what Crossman is built on top of. So you can actually, if you wanted to build something similar to Crossman, you can build it on top of console, which would then make it easy for you to build something similar to Crossman. And this is written in Ember. Yes, it's written in Ember. Let's see, what can I show? Okay, let me actually go to let's actually look at queues because that's the most recent one. Come on. So queues. This is the recent feature that I added. Still needs to be documented, but it's basically a queue worker. I don't know if you have any specific questions I'm trying to
Mhm.
see what I can actually show you. Queueable. This is like the base class for queue or job. Sorry. Like you can also delay a job. Maybe you can
Oh,
run it after like 10 minutes or an hour. Um, yeah, and this is written in TypeScript. Yes, it's
okay.
written in TypeScript. We have a bunch of commands. Uh, yeah, we have the work command, which is basically what gets the queues to start running. Uh,
Okay. I think this looks great. So if people wanted to, or what would be most valuable to you for people contributing? Is it people using the project? Is it people opening issues? Is it people saying picking up issues? Like what would be is there any need for your project right now for contributors?
yeah, there is, but I'd say the best way to like get involved is to actually use the framework.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just use the framework. If you find issues, you can obviously open the issue.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think just use the project.
Yeah. I want to try
Yeah,
it out. Like
yeah, should definitely check it out. Yeah.
oh,
Um,
cool.
we have docs as well. Good docs. So if I open up, uh, so there's like a whole getting started guide.
Okay.
You can use Vue.js if you don't want to use Ember. You can use Vue.js. If you don't want to use Vue.js, you can use React. So
Really?
yeah, so
Oh.
literally when you start your application, so you can specify that you want to use. So basically, just run this command, and your application will be scaffolded with React or Vue.js. So this is pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, in your words, it's very beefed up. Like I was like, okay, cool. I'll have to learn Imba a little bit, but I'll still try it out. No, I could use React or Vue or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay, this is cool.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
If folks in the audience have questions, please feel free to put them in. But I'm going to move into some. Is are you done with your demo? Just to
yeah,
double check? Cool. Like
yeah.
this is awesome. Like I didn't want to limit you because there's so many cool things you built in, but I have a couple other questions for you that are maybe less on the technical side, but more on like being an open source maintainer. I'm just curious. I always like to ask people like, what are the challenges of being a maintainer? And I ask this because um, I think sometimes we look at different like people doing things like, oh, you're a developer advocate, you're a maintainer, you're a software engineer, and we're like, oh, this is so awesome. But like, we never really talk about like what challenges you might be facing to be able to do those roles. So yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's around finances. It's very hard
Mm,
to work on something for free
yeah.
when you have like a lot of stuff to do on like personal stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that's like the main ones, like the main challenge that a lot of maintainers run into. I
Yeah.
think that's why some of the projects actually die. Some open source projects, that's why they die because of like finances. I think a lot of open source maintainers want to work on these open source projects, but it's like, do you actually stop working and just do this full time? Because then how do you make money out of it? And yeah, it's like that's the biggest challenge.
That is such a huge problem in open source. I
Yeah,
agree with you. Even for me, I started maintaining a project and like I really like I co-maintain it with somebody and like I haven't barely touched it because I keep having to do my job. And I'm like, oh, I'm
yeah,
gonna I'm gonna do it soon. And you would think like I have a job where I could dedicate time to it, but I still have other things to do.
yeah.
That makes me wonder, do you have a GitHub sponsors page?
I haven't set it up. I do have access to it, but I haven't really set it up.
Set it
Um,
up. And if you don't know how, I have a blog post on like what things to include in there to really help. I'll send it to you. And maybe I should show it to other people too. Do you mind me sharing my screen really quickly?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
of course.
let me. I hope I don't share too much on here because sometimes when I press share, oh, my computer froze. Okay, let's see. Okay. Yeah. So somewhere here I have how to like create a sponsors page because I want you to get paid. And I know it's not like the ultimate answer. It's still like a like sponsors is still a thing that's a work in progress because yes, it exists, but how do we get people to pay you? But like
Yeah.
one thing I found that has been useful to people is like actually putting actually putting effort into your sponsors page. So like making sure like you kind of like have an intro of telling who you are and what you do to help people get invested with you, featuring like repos of your work, if you have a team, and then making sure you like set up the tiers in which people should pay you. So like are you preferring for people to like give you $5 a month, and if so, like what can they get from that? Like will you
Mhm.
prioritize their issues and stuff like that? So just something to think about that'll like help people feel more encouraged or motivated to sponsor you. I don't know, I want you to
Yeah.
get sponsored.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. You share the link. I'll check it out.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, what has been the most rewarding part for you though? Like let's flip it. So money has been the challenge, but what's been the most rewarding part of like maintaining a project and like building your own framework?
Yeah, I think people coming up to me and saying, "Hey, we are trying to build something like this. Can you help us? Can you show us how we can get started?" I think that's been like the most rewarding part about all of this. I had one guy from Germany reached out to me. He was like building this. I forgot what app he was building, but like I think we had like sessions every Saturday,
Yeah.
where basically I show him, oh, you can fix this using this method, and then I had this guy reach out to me who was building Prizer. Like, yo, how do we do queues? And that's when we added queues. So I think all of that, it's sort of like collaborating with them in a way, which is great. So yeah, I think that's been the most rewarding part.
I love that. Yes. Okay. All right. So now this question is a bit of a more heavy question. But because I named this awesome black maintainers, and because of what I explained earlier on, like I run this show every Friday. I struggle to find maintainers from different backgrounds. Like I mostly find white men, and that's like fine, right? Like, but I'm like, why? Um, where's the diversity in open source? I have an idea of of where they are and why it's not as successful. But from your perspective, like what are your thoughts on how we can improve diversity in open source?
I actually don't have an answer for that. I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
I think maybe it has to do with like the grassroots level
yeah,
of tech in general.
yeah,
Not a lot of us people of color are exposed to tech,
yeah,
and it goes back to maybe studying in like school, get kids involved as early as possible.
yeah.
I think that's how you can introduce them into tech. I think we first need to introduce them into tech before we can start thinking about open source.
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like a domino effect of like people don't know about open source because they weren't exposed to tech. The
Yeah.
guest before you actually said the same thing. It's like we need to start introducing it at the high school level. Because I agree, right? Like even when I was in high school, I didn't even know what coding really was. So I was like, I think it's like they're typing something. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I do agree that we need to expose more folks at a lower level about technology and about
Yeah.
open source, and that'll help um, get more of them in there.
Yeah.
So we talked about how people can contribute to your project. Do you have any advice on how to gain more collaborators or sponsors or maintainers for? I mean, not maintainers. Sorry, sponsors or contributors or users for your project.
Uh, Not at the moment. I
Yeah,
think I'm still trying to find my feet as well.
yeah,
So it's like I don't have the answer as well.
yeah.
So yeah.
That's fair. And I think for me, even though I like just started being a maintainer, I've like in my job I get the opportunity to um what's the word? Observe other maintainers or learn from them. And what I've seen is like the way that they're getting more contributors and stuff like that is from projects like this, from doing a Twitch stream, from like going to a meetup or a talk. So just if anyone is listening here and they want to um they have an open source project, but they're like, dang, nobody's contributing. Ugh, My camera keeps dying. I'm sorry, y'all. It's been on for like a couple hours. That's why. Uh, Give me a second for it to pop back up. Of course. Okay. We are back. Okay, cool. Yeah. Sorry about that. But basically, um some of it might feel cringe to like be promoting. It feels like self promotion, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's valuable. It's important because nobody you built something so amazing, and like I didn't know how amazing it was until you came on the screen. So
Yeah.
things like this are helpful in gaining more contributors and gaining more sponsors and gaining more users because now some people watch the stream and maybe they'll tweet about it, they'll try it out, whatever. And yeah, good first step. Thank
Yeah.
you for saying yes to my DM,
Yeah.
especially for short notice. Um, yeah, people said fire to formidable or they gave a fire emoji. Somebody said wow, I think when you were presenting. So like people are really impressed by this. I'll transition into some of the non-technical questions if nobody in the audience. Oh, actually one person did. Someone said this framework works in a use case for creating an API that can maintain scalability and be simple to add features and solve bugs, like going from 100 users to I mean, I guess that's 1,000 and then 10,000 in little time without breaking the app. I think they're asking, is this framework scalable?
I mean, at the moment, it hasn't been battle tested to the fullest.
Yeah.
There are a few guys using it, and I mean, we're just checking out if it works as expected. Is it breaking? Are there issues and whatnot? So at the moment, it's still in beta, so don't expect it to work 100%. So yeah, I mean, you're still solving issues and still fixing a couple of bugs. So yeah, it's still yet to see.
Yeah, and that's
Still yet
fair.
to see. Yeah.
That's fair. What a lot of open source projects, they're early stage. Like so that's completely fair. If you want to help him make sure that scalability is there, definitely try using it and see.
Yeah. I think that's the only way. That's the only way we can really know it, right? Just use
Yeah,
it and let's find out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Open the issue if it works. If it does, or if it doesn't, someone said Go Router with Flutter uses that similar naming model that you showed us earlier. And then someone mentioned that they have a Node.js framework called Athena, which is based in Laravel too. I'd love to, Victor, reach out to me. I'd love to highlight your project.
That's
Cool.
awesome. Definitely
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah. All right. So we have a couple minutes left. So I will like transition into some of the quote unquote fun questions. Maybe they won't be fun to you, but so first question: what was your first programming language?
Ah, Delphi,
Delphi.
Poland, Delphi. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This
Okay.
was in 2011. Yes, 2011.
Okay. Okay. I haven't heard
Delphi
anyone say
was
that one.
it was created by the same guy who created C Sharp, I think. I could be wrong. Yeah,
Oh. Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
It's one of
Yeah.
the OG languages.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love to hear new languages on here because a lot of times people say like Q basic or some like some other language that starts and ends with basic. um and mine was SQL for some random reason. I think I was like trying to learn to code and then SQL popped up and I was like, okay, I'll learn that. But I was like,
That's a very odd first language to try out.
yeah. I had like not a lot of knowledge around coding and I was like confused. I was like, so how does this build websites? Like obviously.
Yeah.
um, okay. If money wasn't an issue, how would you ideally spend your time?
Mm, good question. I spend most of it with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't really spend much time with them. I think if money wasn't an issue, I'd probably spend probably most of it, most of my
Yeah.
time with them. Yeah.
I love that. Family is very important. No, it
Yeah.
is. And like I
Yeah.
think we live in a capitalist world where it's like, oh, we gotta work and stuff like that, and we forget about that. I want to highlight this comment from Deshaun that said, "Awesome." Deshaun was the last guest right before you, so happy that he got to come through and check this out. Another question for you. Maybe FormidableJS is the answer to this, but I don't know. What's a dream open source project that you would like to create one day?
Hmm. I think I've created it already. LunaQL. I mean, it's not open source yet, but
Okay.
I think if I change my mind in the future, it would be the dream project.
Okay.
Um, yeah, probably LunaQL. Yeah.
Can't wait to see when that comes out. And wait,
Yeah.
can you tell us what it is? Or would you prefer to
Yeah,
keep
yeah, yeah. It's a NoSQL database that lives on the edge.
okay.
Yeah, that's basically it's the API driven NoSQL database that lives on the edge.
Sounds exciting. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Last two questions. The word GIF. Do you say I don't want to say how I say it. Do you use a hard G
GIF.
or a soft G?
GIF. It's GIF. It's
GIF?
GIF. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
GIF.
That's what Sean said too. Y'all are gonna hate me. I say GIF. The creator said GIF. So I go all right. And then last question, and most important. No, just kidding. But
Most
what's your
important.
favorite what's your favorite Beyonce song?
Oh man. I don't have a favorite. But I think the recent that I listened to was Friends, where
Ooh,
she's got Jay-Z on it.
yeah.
That's the last one I listened to. I don't have a favorite, but yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
As soon as he said it, I was like, "Oh, yeah." Not a lot of people yeah, that's someone said that's a banger. Yep. And then someone talked about your Luna QL. They said awesome database project. Would love to get more info. Maybe if he open sources it, we can have him back on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Are there any I didn't ask Deshaun this, but he ended up I guess saying it. Are there any things you want to promote or tell people to check out or follow you on or anything?
Just follow me on Twitter. It's Donald Pakis. And you can follow me on GitHub as well. It's Donald P. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Let me put your let me put that up on here so that people can see. Sorry, y'all, my computer is moving extra slow right now. Follow. I should have had these up. Uh, my computer doesn't like that I've been streaming this long. But y'all follow him on Twitter. I already showed you the GitHub link as well, which is github.com/formidablejs. Definitely give it a star. Definitely try it out. Um, yeah, it's like a really beefed out project. I was expecting like because I hadn't heard of it before. I was like, it's probably super early stage. That's okay. Like, let's see what like he's starting to
Yeah.
build out and what he's planning. But no, you have it like fully
Yeah,
fleshed out.
there's a lot of things you can do with it. Yeah, it's just a lot. People just need to try it out.
How long have you been building it?
Started working on it in 2021, late 2021. Yeah, late
Okay.
2021. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been
Wow.
working on it ever since.
Wow. Yeah. Well, put up that GitHub sponsor so we could sponsor you. So you can work on it more. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on. Um,
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
yeah, yeah. Appreciate it so much. All right, y'all. Thank
Awesome.
you too for to the audience for stopping by and watching. Especially for watching both parts of the chat. I had a part one and part two, so I think appreciate those who maybe either just stopped in or have been watching the whole time. I'll see y'all next Friday, and bye.